Now, the group organising these forums is called the Fellowship of the Round Table in the best Arthurian tradition. It's a long-established discussion and study group aiming to raise consciousness on political, social and cultural issues. You can tell I'm reading from the screen here, can't you? But anyway, one has to. And to network for creative social change. We share a deep concern about the current state, is it state? Yes, of Western civilization and where it might be heading, and we seek solutions. That's why we put on these forums. Now, further information on FORT, it's a grand acronym, FORT, it's very Arthurian, may be gleaned from our website. On the application form there's a website, you can hunt us up there. We have no links of any description or any connections with any political business organisation, with any church, cult, religion, or any other group or organisation whatsoever in the universe. All monies are spent on printed and internet information and on public meetings like this one. We're strictly voluntary and we're strictly non-commercial and non-affiliated. That's very important. Our favourite motto is we serve truth, not consensus. So we have no political ambitions whatsoever, not with that motto. Our topic of this evening's forum, as advertised, is family law is the man the loser. Now we have 5 guest speakers. The first in order of appearance is Mark Youssef. Then we have John Stapleton. Then we have Peter van der Voorde. We did intend to have Catherine Swinburne, but she's been detained because of an illness. So we have Barbara Biggs, who has agreed to speak at very short notice, and we're very grateful for that. And Warwick Marsh. I think Barbara Biggs will be speaking after Warwick Marsh. Okay, now there is just one more thing which I have here, and I'd like to emphasise that when the last speaker has finished, we will then take questions, and you put up your hand, and you'll probably be acknowledged. If you put your hand up in short order, short questions, please. Come to the mic. The mic is there. If you come to the mic, you will be heard. That's the way to do it. Just come up to the mic as you're acknowledged, and we won't have to worry with long cords. Now, the first speaker, and I'd like to introduce, is Mark Youssef. Now, Mark Youssef is a part of Armstrong legal firm, and he was admitted to the Supreme Court of New South Wales in 2005, and later to the High Court of Australia. Holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Macquarie, majoring in philosophy and political science, and a Master of Law and Legal Practice degree from the University of Technology, majoring in family law. Before joining Armstrong in 2008, Mark was exposed to a wide range of areas of the law at previous firms, including civil litigation, wills, estates. Mark now applies this knowledge and skill exclusively to the practice of family law and its related issues. He's a member of the Law Society of New South Wales, a member of the Young Lawyers Family Law Committee, and a member of the Law Council of Australia Family Law Section. I'd like you to welcome Mr. Mark Youssef, please.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I'd like to first thank the organisers of the Fellowship of the Round Table for their kind invitation to allow me to address you this evening. And indeed, I'd like to thank each of you for attending and putting up with the lawyer being in your midst for at least a couple of hours. I know it can't be easy, but I would ask you to slip it up to the end if possible. Family law is the man the loser. I must admit that when I first became aware of the topic, I sarcastically thought to myself, as I would hope many of you did also, goodness, couldn't they have come up with a more controversial and emotive topic? You really done your homework. Well, it's a lawyer's duty, as per my own strict personal understanding, that a lawyer should always strive to keep controversy and emotion out of their legal practice. But the problem is that, notwithstanding the legislation does, at least in my opinion, keep controversy and emotion by the wayside, the simple fact will always remain that the legislation is designed to impact on people's lives. And indeed the thing that all of us treasure most, and that is the family unit. In addition, there is little doubt that by our very nature we are controversial and emotional beings. When someone asks me about family law, I like to try and simplify it into three main areas. We've got divorce, we've got parenting, and property. Divorce, as you might already know, is simply the dissolution of a marriage that is ordered by the court once the party is able to prove an irretrievable breakdown to that marriage by way of at least 12 months separation. So there's nothing really controversial about that. Where things start to get interesting though, and people's thoughts start to turn to the notion of winning and losing, is in respect of the other two areas that are inescapably intertwined. However, while I will try to address both, I appreciate that parenting has always been the primary focus of discussion groups such as this, perhaps more than property, so the time I devote to each will be apportioned accordingly. Parenting. Now, in typical lawyer form, I need to refer to the legislation. We have to. I think all lawyers will tell you that one of the very first things that they drum into you at law school is, for goodness sake, always try to have an authority for what you're saying. You always have to. Well, my first authority for this evening is Section 67, capital D of the Family Law Act, which tells us that the man, from the time a child is conceived, is liable to contribute towards the maintenance and expenses of the mother prior to the child being born. Immediately, ladies and gentlemen, we see from the very beginning that the Act refers to a man as being liable, quote unquote, which leads us to the natural conclusion that where there are responsibilities, there must also be rights. So far, in respect of the pre-birth of a child, it is a man's responsibility towards a woman's maintenance and expenses. Strangely enough, though, the Act falls eerily silent in respect of what some might consider to be the man's natural right to be present at the birth of the child. The mother's right, as you will appreciate, will always be present by virtue of her status as the patient. But for a man, he must first be allowed by the mother to engage and be involved in the birth experience of the child. Moreover, while a man is legally liable to contribute towards the maintenance and expenses of the mother, he, of course, has no say in respect of whether the pregnancy is maintained or terminated. Now, I hope you trust me when I say that I do not make that point to reignite the old abortion issue, but I do so only by way of trying to show the differences between the sexes in terms of family law. If we move on, once a child is born, there is no obligation placed on the mother to name the man as the child's father. The same man, mind you, who has been supporting her during the pregnancy. Unless the man has DNA evidence and a court order in hand, the child's birth certificate may remain devoid of a father's identity altogether. Now, while a birth certificate naming the father will be the most common and conventional method of proving paternity, conversely, if a man does not wish to have his name on the child's birth certificate, for instance, because he and his wife have been living separately and apart in different countries for over 9 months, for example, the registrar of the Child Support Agency, the CSA, is also entitled to assume paternity in a variety of circumstances under Section 29 of the Child Support Assessment Act, some of which includes the child was born during the marriage, the child was born to a woman within 44 weeks after a purported marriage or period of reconciliation that was no more than 3 months, or the child was born to a woman who cohabited with the man at any time during the period beginning 44 weeks and ending 20 weeks before the birth. So it might very well be the case of being caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time, but bad luck.